Hey, it's Warren Huart here from Produce Like a Pro. We're at Namm 2017 with the great Steve Urie. How are you, mate?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So, you might notice I'm using a handheld.
Yeah.
We've been using these clip-on mics and...
I'm down with the handheld, this is cool.
Really? I left mine at home, or at least that's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Or I lost it at
That's
a party.
An excuse to get another one.
Yeah, exactly. So, we were at Smiley's place, well, Tommy Lee's place.
Yes, the atrium, yep.
Which was insane. It has like a koi pond.
Yes, the koi pond is badass.
It's Tommy Lee's studio, so he has like a koi pond, like a, what do you call it, like a theater? A home theater?
Yeah, he's
like,
got a home theater built in there.
Like huge chairs.
Yeah, and it's like open air. You go from the studio, you walk out of the studio, you're there, and then there's the wet bar, and then it's pretty cool.
It's like one of those, if you were a rock star and you had more money than you knew what to do with and you wanted to build an amazing studio, that's the studio you'd build.
Tommy has a great pad, no doubt.
It was pretty awesome. And he came down while I was working with his son, and he was a total sweetheart. And his son had a technical issue, and we sat there and fixed it, and his son's doing music, and it's just like, it's good to see.
Yes, absolutely.
Good to see.
And Tommy's such a sweet guy.
He's a very sweet guy.
An amazing player, too. I actually once, years ago, at a private Sony party, George Clinton, P-Funk All-Stars were playing, and I'm like sitting there, I'm eating sushi, I'm looking down, chilling, all of a sudden the drums changed. I'm like, what's going on up here? And I look up and Tommy Lee's playing drums with George Clinton, P-Funk All-Stars.
Nice.
And he's just killing it. Absolutely cool.
So, we got our Lewitt handheld. This is the Baptism of Fire. So, hopefully it sounds good. All right.
Yes.
Let's talk about what you got going on.
Okay. So.
Would you mind if we squeeze past? I'm very sorry. Don't want to get rid of the clients.
No.
It's not good. So, what have you got? What have you got? What's new in fantabulous? I mean, I've used, you know, the first.
I've used the Reds and the
Reds
RS124s,
were
the TG channel.
We did some Matstar drum tracks that you can download for free. Track three of these, because we did Ethan John's miking.
Yeah. Glenn and the whole John's family.
Yeah.
Well, Ethan does what his dad does.
He does what he did. I don't know why I went to Ethan first rather than Glenn.
Well,
Sorry, Glenn.
Ethan makes some great records.
But I knew about your stuff first of all from Dave Sardi.
Oh, okay.
Because I did the Thrills record with him, and I did the Hot Hot Heat record with him.
Okay.
And when we came to mix, we'd mix on a Neve, and he had your gear. He had it on. He had it. I think we used it on parallel drums and master bus, and
TG1 probably.
TG1,
Yeah.
So that was where I learned about it, and to be honest, Dave doesn't use a huge amount of outboards, so the fact that he was using the Neve and your outboard was pretty telling.
It's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. So this is what we used with Tommy, or at Tommy, sorry.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about these, because I didn't really get to talk about them in the video.
So over the last couple years, we've been getting into the tube era of EMI circuits that they use at Abbey Road Studios. And of course, it started with the Red 47. That was the first tube unit that we did. And of course, this is the all-purpose line amplifier that was the plug-in module. They had a bunch of them in the side of the Red 51 console.
Wow.
There were only ever 3 of those consoles ever built. They actually started designing them in 1958. First one was built in 1959, but then it wouldn't be installed into Studio 2 at Abbey Road till late 63, 1964 beginning. Wow. And this is quite literally the sound of like those Beatles records, that catalog, 64 through 68, all those records.
Sure.
This was the mic preamplifier. They had switched from the Telefunken V72 to this. Right. It was their own design. Used the same tubes, but a completely different circuit, more hi-fi, punchy, just forward and in your face. So that's this, and of course now we've made a microphone out of it.
That's great. I mean, I love V72s. I have a pair.
Yeah. So
they're great on bass, but they're a little. I hate using words to describe anything. You'd have to listen to it, but I would say soft.
Yeah. They're
beautiful, and round and soft and all that
chill.
stuff. But they don't have that. They don't snap. They don't quite sound as modern as what you want.
Yeah, and these are very
sometimes
hi-fi, aggressive, punchy.
Great.
But they can, I mean, obviously Abbey Road was doing classical, opera, jazz, all this. They weren't just doing rock and roll, right? That was almost a sideshow, the rock and roll stuff. So this is quite literally what that is. And then we followed it up with the mysterious and famous EMI RS124.
Tell me about that.
Well, so the RS124s obviously were, well, not obviously, not everybody knows this, but EMI had acquired for Abbey Road Studios a handful of Altec 436Bs, and they found them. Yeah, I have one too. You know, everyone was trying to mod them because nobody
I have
knew.
the mod, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like even then it was like it's actually there's even more to it than what was let out that people have modded. So we all kind of got there, but we never got there until now.
Steve Anderson, God rest his soul, did mine.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So essentially what we found out with these, Abbey Road at EMI had modified them for Abbey Road because they found that they weren't very suitable for their recording environment. And once they got into it, they just kept going, and then it became its own thing. And when we got into it, when we were going to go ahead and re-release these, we found out that the schematics are one thing, but guess what? There were all these handwritten notes that were never in the schematics, separate. And then when we got into the 3 different historic units that we have in here. These are the serial numbers of the historic units still in use at Abbey Road, their favorite ones. They're all a little bit different from each other on top of that. They have their own quirks, they sound a little bit different things. So when Wade figured that out, and we worked that out with EMI, because we have access to everything, Abbey Road Studios, we went ahead and said, you know what, let's make the definitive RS-124, let's put all 3 in one box, and then of course, very Chandler-esque, we went ahead and we said, okay, let's do the super fuse thing, which is a very modern thing, and of course that's not a fuse, that's a switch, real fuse is on the back. And this just makes everything go crazy, as you heard.
Yeah.
Very aggressive, everything just pops out. Very, very cool. What's really cool about these is not only can you conjure up those, but we added modern settings in between the serial number ones. This one's actually in the Recording the Beatles book in the picture there, 61010B. So very, very cool.
I think for anybody that doesn't know what this is, it's basically a mic pre-compressor in one box.
Yeah, it's amplifying while it's compressing. And,
so as you turn it up, it just compresses more. It's
yep.
as simple as it's really dumb, but
great sound.
It's, I don't know, for me, it's the closest thing you're going to get to a John Lennon vocal sound.
Oh yeah, it's
not a girl who misses much. It just feels like
it's right there. And the thing is with these, the deeper you go, it's like the better it sounds, right? I mean, you're at 15 plus, and it's just like magic.
I just look at the needle and go, that's doing something, but what does it sound like? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And what's cool about them is they don't really shave off the transients. You know what I mean? It keeps it intact. It's almost, it's like the transient's still there, so you don't really hear the active compression destroying the sound in a sense.
It's probably such a slow release that it's just grabbing and holding, so everything's breathing underneath it.
Yeah. Well, and you're so deep at that point, it's just not letting go. Yeah, exactly, holding. So we start fast over here, and we progressively get slower this way, and then opposite here. And we have the hold feature in here as well, the famous hold feature, so it doesn't clamp down when you go in and you're mixing on the track. So there you go. That's that.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got to hear this because it's like in the back of my mind, there's like 3 pre's I would have in my life, and they're obvious: 1073, 312, and one of these. Yeah. And I own the Altec version of this that's been modded, but I know that those are the 3 sounds that are kind of
the 3 kings, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously lots of other versions. Don't get me wrong. I have a discussion of people telling me I'm wrong, which is okay because I'm very often wrong. But for me, I think sounds that I hear,
they're identifiable.
So identifiable.
They're so in us from all those great records. Yeah. So
great. Well,
and then we have the Zener limiter, right? Which is that's the sort of an expanded version of the TG1 that you were used to using.
Oh, of course. Sorry, that's what I'm thinking.
So it has even more features than the original.
So what are the more features?
Well, so you got a side chain filter. So if you want the kick drum to get through without getting compressed, you can bring that guy in 90, 150, 300, and even further. You could take it out if you want to.
I love that on bass guitar. You can come up to like 250, 300, and it works magic on bass guitars. Yeah.
And then, so what you'll see here is the labeling on here. There's white and gold.
Yeah.
So the difference between this and the original TG1 is these are the original settings from the original hardware. Comp 1 was their transistor version when they moved from tube to transistor, that they were trying to model their own tube, RS-124 in a transistor, or emulate it, if you will. And then Limit was them trying to make a transistor version of their Fairchild, the 660s that they were actually using. And so everything in gold are the new features, as I had said. So Comp 2 is a modern setting. And then we added all this additional stuff. You have a THD feature. Let's say you don't want any limiting or compression. THD, you just want, get all that harmonic distortion, maybe take one side and jam it into the other. Get even more, up to 2% harmonic distortion. It's
I remember
awesome.
Dave Sardi, when we were mixing, the original one of these, he was just, everything went through it. Everything we did.
Yeah, it's just fine.
Jet, yeah, the Hot Heat record is one of my favorite sounding records I ever worked on.
And then the Curve Bender EQ is an expanded version of the original EQ.
Ciccarelli has one of
mastering
these,
guest.
doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah,
Tony
Ciccarelli
Maserati, Ciccarelli, they've got them. They've got both of these actually. Maserati's got a couple of these too.
Ciccarelli's like my favorite producer engineer, I think, in America.
He's pretty awesome. I love that guy. He's running around here. He's supposed to stop by today. I hope he does.
Yeah.
So he's a very sweet man. Just incredible ears.
No ego, amazing ear.
His engineering acumen
is insane.
The
thing I love about him, apart from a resume which starts with Frank Zappa, which is pretty much like,
Yeah.
Zappa or a Beatle or a Zeppelin credit is, the thing about that is like every session player I use, like Victor and Trizza, the Matt Chamberlains, like whatever, anybody's ever worked with him will all tell you that he's the best engineer they ever worked with.
Yeah.
So when the session players are telling you he's the best engineer you've ever worked with, you know he's the best. Because they're working with 100 different guys a year.
Yeah, and they're there to play and they want to get the best out, and he just gets it out of them. It's kind of insane. He makes it so easy.
I'm a big fan, and I don't mind telling everybody.
So this has 51 EQ points instead of what the original had. So again, the white are the original frequencies on these bands, and then the gold are the ones that we filled in.
Right.
And what's really cool about this is originally we just had the one version where you had 1 dB steps of cut and boost per band.
Yeah.
And then Michael Brower wanted a version that had half dB steps, so more like a mastering for cut and boost.
That's a good idea.
And so about 2011, instead of like having 2 different versions, we combined them into one. So in the 1x, you're in your half dB steps, and then in the 1.5 in the narrower EQ, you're digging in much deeper. It works out to roughly 1.5 dB steps. And so you could have one band going like this 1.5 and the other one going half dB and so on and so forth. So it's very powerful.
Now people
EQ.
might ask why. Well, logically it's because of the relationship between boost and cut.
Yep.
If Michael's dipping at half a dB and boosting above it at half, he's creating a nice 1 dB shift. So hence that, because half dB is, for a lot of people, is not something you hear, but in relationship to a cut,
exactly,
it's a big
complementary to the other part of it. Yep.
Yeah, and I've worked with Michael, so I know his thinking.
Yep.
Well, great. And then what do we got going on over here?
Okay, so this is the Chandler Limited Mini Rack Mixer. It's the summing mixer that we've had for a long, long time now. It is chock full of 22 transformers and 20
So it's a real summing mixer.
Yes, it's a little console. It's like a 450-pound, almost like TG console. And
I'd rather call it a console. I'm not a big fan of summing mixers. I think they're a little bit of the word? Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah.
Because most of them are like a pair of, like some op amps and a pair of transformers.
Right.
And I'd rather tell a kid or somebody coming, go and buy one of these and use it 24 times going in, and then you don't need a pair of transformers on the output stage. But if you've got this loaded with them, that's a different story. That's a mini console.
It is a mini console.
Not a summing amp.
We basically distilled that down into 5 rack spaces. So 22 transformers, 20 Class A discrete amplifiers in here. You've got your pan. You can pull the pan pot out. It's a mini console. You got your stereo output, your control room, speaker 1 or 2. You can put a talkback mic in it. It's just huge sounding.
Sure. That's great.
A lot of guys using this.
That'd be great if you're mixing like a lot of like in the box recordings where people are coming and you want to add what you would have got by using this 24 times.
You want to give the weight back to it and the depth and extra things like that.
So nice, very nice.
And here we are at the TG 2 500s and the rest of our 500 series, the Germaniums, the Little Devils, with the compressors.
Little Devils are amazing. I'd love to try these out.
I'll bring them by.
If nothing else, they look amazing. I mean, come on. That bright blue and yellow.
Bright blue, woo. The butter. It's all about the yellow is all about the butter. These are so buttery. They're like little woolly mammoths. It's like like having woolly mammoths on your ears. They're so warm and cozy. It's just that germanium thing. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, I look at this and I see butter because that's what it is. It's just
a woolly mammoth.
It's like warm butter.
And then what's this microphone cassette?
Yeah.
What is this?
So in the TG consoles, the EMI TG consoles, they actually call the modules cassettes, microphone cassettes. On the back of them, they say microphone.
I never knew that.
Cassette, a cassette. So
I saw the Red 37 and filmed it.
Okay, yeah. So that's the original
console,
Red stuff. So this is the transistor TG land.
Yeah.
And so essentially, after all these years, what we did, since we had the TG1, the Zener limiter, the Curve Bender, the TG2, which has been used on so many records after all these years, is we said, okay, let's finally do a channel. Like it would have been in the consoles. And so we gave it a DI, you have the TG2 in here, directly coupled or married to a curve bender EQ section.
Right.
So you've got a high and low shelf. This is at 91 hertz. This is at 8.1 kilohertz, and then you have a switchable mid-band, and you can actually take the mid-band out and just use the high and low, or you can take the whole EQ out. It's a bypass now or put it in. So these two are married together. The TG1 is in here is now the TG1 Opto. So what's unique about it is instead of doing sort of the diode bridge thing like the original TG1, we went ahead and said, hey, let's try this with an Opto.
Nice.
And that was obviously Wade's brainchild.
Right.
I think there have been rumors and things of even EMI engineers experimenting with Optos, but they never put them into service, that type of thing.
Right.
But what's great about it is like everyone uses the TG1. It's like on drums.
Sure.
You know, I think I had Reed Ship in here earlier, and he goes,
Oh, Reed's here?
Yeah, Reed's running around, and he was telling me about his
I'll text
TG1,
him.
and he goes, oh yeah, the settings haven't changed. It's always on the drums. You know, Vance Powell.
Yeah.
So, but
I saw Van standing here a second ago.
Exactly. So what's great about this, and what's a little different, is that Opto, now we have a rounded knee, so you could use that on vocals now. The TG1's not just this, you know, thing that's really aggressive. But if you want to be aggressive, you go into sharp knee, and that's very much limit mode that we know in the TG1. And the hold, not to be confused with the hold on the RS-124, basically acts like a threshold that simply moves the needle. And as you know, on the original consoles, they'd move it and it would move like this. They would tell the engineers, you know, prior to the take, adjust the hold knob and setting the needle for the amount of compression you wanted, and then run the take. That was kind of unique. So that's why that guy kind of moves there. We have variable attack and release. So that's kind of cool. You can get in between the cracks.
How fast is attack and release?
Well, we don't publish our specs, but it's really fast. The TG1's super fast. This thing's very, very fast.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I can go like this and blow things up.
Okay, good. Yeah, because you know, with modern recording, we want.
You want punchy. Well, like the Superfuse on the RS. That's a modern thing, and really takes this old slow thing and.
It's a great idea.
And you got to experience the TG channels at the Atrium with Smiley.
That's great.
Yep, and that's a passive EQ married to a TG2. Then you get the dual mono TG2, which actually what's really cool about it, this is the original guy that we did. You have dual mono, or you can put the summer on, and then both channels go out one output, and you can blend the outputs. You know, you can blend these guys gain-wise together.
I'd like to hear that. I heard that in a 1073, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, you've got two mics, and you just want to commit to the sound.
Yeah. But I'd like to hear what it does with these.
Yeah.
Because some things distort beautifully independently, but not so good into each other.
Yeah, well, you get a lot of guys going like that, turning down the output fader, and you know they're jamming to get that transistor distortion going, harmonic content.
I like it within one channel, but on a 1073, I tried a dual one. I literally went from one overload into the next. And
it's different.
It doesn't work. It doesn't add the bottom end that you get from.
Yeah, well, you're just crushing things and doing things the lab coats wouldn't like.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Back in the day.
Germanium there.
Yep.
Preamp DI. I think they have one of these, don't they?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I see them a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people have them.
A lot of people have them. They love them. They're just that woolly sound. Of course, that was the 500 version of this. Up
Steve
there.
Woolly Mammoth Fiore.
There you go.
Okay,
the woolly mammoth sound. But what's kind of cool about these, it has a negative feedback.
Right.
And so the more negative feedback you have, you're actually pulling the sound back, right? Because you're counteracting, you know, the sound itself. It's like the sound 180 degrees against itself. You're adding more of that. The sound's getting sucked back. All preamps have that, but we gave you a variable. It's like preset in there.
I'd like to hear that.
Here it's fully variable.
Never tried it.
It changes the tone. It's just deciding, you know, how far you want to go. Less, it's more just pure gain with no negative feedback.
I'd like to hear that.
Yep. And I'm going to bring you all the toys then.
Okay, good.
I drop them off and let you play. So we have the Germanium compressor. It's a FET style compressor. And it's kind of like having 6 compressors in one. You have all these different knees here, resistance.
I have to get a close up of that.
Yeah, Germanium soft, Germanium medium. Then you go silicon, and then silicon here and hard, and then Zener. And so it's like having multiple compressors in one. They all react differently.
Right.
It's a very powerful unit. What's really cool about it is you put a germanium drive in it so that you can really junk up the signal if you want to, and you can do more or less negative feedback on the compressor as well.
Wow.
So, and then the tone control of the Germanium series is a sound designer's dream. It's really just about getting in there and playing and using your ears. You can do all kinds of cool different stuff with this thing. It's not even something I can explain other than like if you try it and you just mess around with it for a few hours, it'll be one of your favorite toys to to go to. And again, it has the Germanium drive in here, so you could also junk it up or play with the feedback, get all kinds of different tones.
Yeah,
really
I've got to see what that does. I've never played with that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, next we have a mic. So tell me what we got going on here.
All right. So this is...
I'm going to give you this.
Oh, hello. So this is the all-new Chandler Limited EMI Abbey Road Studios Red Microphone. So, what is that? The Red Microphone quite literally is a Red 47 circuit become a microphone. So the microphone is the Red 47 mic amplifier. The mic amplifier is the Red 47. So the Red 47 that we talked about that was on all those great records has now been turned into a microphone.
Wow,
the tubes are inside there, the circuit's inside there. It's got a premium platinum membrane capsule in it. So let's talk about in terms of transmission. Remember in the studio, you go out, you put the preamp out as close to the mic as possible, drive the line from there, because you're in a studio with a lot of line to drive, right?
Sure.
Well, here, you're a half-inch away from the capsule to your preamp. Pure transmission.
Right.
Very, very powerful thing. So what it is, on the back side, which we'll show you here in a second, but it's +4 to +33 switchable dB of gain, okay? We have a normal mode on the front here, so this is the normal gain operation of the mic, gain structure of the mic, and then a drive mode, and that just pushes the circuit a little bit more, a little bit extra gain, but it's more there for an additional tonal character, and it works through the entire gain range of it. So like it's very similar to on the Red 47 rack mount, where you have the voltage gain, which is the big sort of steps, and then you have the plus and minus 5 dB of fine gain, which you can use to color it, dial in your color. The drive is that active across the full gain range. All right, you have phase reverse here. I think I may have covered this or not. It's cardioid omni pattern, and you have a 10 dB pad right here. And then on the power supply, you have an output fader, and it also acts secondarily. If you pull it, it's still an output fader, but now you're in the secondary voicing of the mic, which is the low contour mode. So what this is doing is it changes the sound of the mic. It's a different voicing. I like to say it sucks in the gut a little bit, but it actually also sort of leans forward. You get a little bit more out of the mids and the highs, a little bit more sparkle up there. So it's a different sound. So between these guys, normal drive, and where you can set the gain, and low contour or no low contour, you got a lot of sounds in here.
That's great.
The key thing about this microphone is it is not a copy or a clone of any other microphone. It is not a U47 clone, it's not a C12 or 251, it's its own thing. And where this really got started is years ago, Wade started playing around with microphone designs, and he started thinking to himself, what if I can put a mic amplifier, like an actual preamplifier in a microphone, or make a microphone, and that's where it kind of started. And then he really started playing around and thinking, well, Abbey Road, EMI, they've made so many microphones relevant, and famous in their own right because of all those sessions that we know about, the Beatles sessions, Pink Floyd. You always see these beautiful Neumann microphones and whatnot. So he thought, you know what? It's about time that EMI had a new microphone. EMI stopped making microphones, I think, in like the late 1930s.
Oh,
and yeah, and they had,
a little while ago.
Yeah, they had crystal microphones, and like I think maybe even a dynamic, certainly the ribbon, his master's voice type of stuff. But with this, Wade thought, you know what? If we're going to give them a new microphone worthy of wearing the EMI and Abbey Road badge, it needs to have its own sound. It needs to be on par with those famous microphones that are those historic microphones still in use at Abbey Road today. So it's got to be, on that vintage par. But it's got to be historically relevant to Abbey Road. So what better way to do it than take the amplifier that amplified those microphones and make it a microphone?
That's a great idea.
Yep. So that's what we have here. And so the idea is...
Like a pair, thank you.
Yes. Kevin Kadish just got a pair, actually.
I'm sure.
He got a matched pair.
Yes, I'm sure.
He's awesome too. That guy's incredible.
Beautiful.
Sorry. And what's cool about it is you got 200 ohm line level output. So the idea is it's kind of a cost savings, right? Because if you bought like a $4,000 mic and you needed a preamp and you got a Red 47, another $2,300, it's $4,599.
Including the mic pre.
It is including the mic pre because it is the mic pre. So you get the mic, the shock mount, the cable, the power supply, and you get the flight case that's over here. So
love to hear it.
Yeah, we'll take a listen, and we've got it in normal. We're at plus 33 dB.
Wow. Yeah.
And then drive.
1, 2, 2, 2. Yeah.
Yeah, here. Let me turn this down. This is the headphone amp, and yep.
1, 2, 2, 2, 2.
So that's the drive mode, and I'm going to take it low contour.
1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, it's a little difficult in here.
There, but, there's definitely a lot of presence in it. It's like,
yep, and so the idea is you can plug it directly into your interface.
Great.
You don't need a preamp, it is the preamp. All we've been doing during this demo is plugging it directly into this awesome Little Labs monitor. That thing is...
I tried that last Namm show, it was amazing. AES.
Yes,
AES,
it's insane. So I'm just going directly into there. So the idea is you can plug this mic directly in your interface, whether it's Pro Tools that you're using or whatever that you have, whatever converter, you can go right in. If you want to use it with an external preamp of your choice, simply turn down the gain, like down to +4, and plug it into your preamp, get that line level,
Right.
and then you can mix and match between the two and get even more sounds.
Perfect.
So that was the idea.
That's amazing.
Yep, and then we'll bring Wade. You want to bring Wade in here?
Yeah, but I gotta
Oh,
ask
you want to talk about
got-
the amplifier? Sure, we've got everything.
You
And
gonna build drums soon?
yeah. Getting into woodworking. That's difficult stuff.
Well, you got some woodworking here.
Yeah, we do. So remember the old Selmer T&Ds?
I do, I had one.
Okay, Wade is a total Selmer fan.
Oh, I had all those amps. You see, I'm on that age group, like in the 80s, where
Yep.
everybody was buying pointy headstock guitars.
Oh yes.
You could get Strats cheap, you could get Voxes cheap, you could get Selmers cheap, you could get Sound City cheap, you could definitely get Orange cheap. The only things that stayed valuable in England were Marshalls. Marshalls and pointy head guitars were
Yep.
Les Pauls were cheap. You could get like a...
Well, that's what's crazy, how the prices on those are now. It's like...
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we had Selmer and Sound City amps because we couldn't afford Marshalls. And now people love them because they sound so unique.
They are, and they're so loud too, of course.
So loud.
I remember my first experience with the TMB 50, and we had a power soak on it too.
Right,
but
yeah.
to get the tones we wanted, this was at actually Henry Hirsch's waterfront studio,
Right.
and wanted this sound. I turned it up, and I was out there by the amp, and I was like, oh my God, but it sounded so glorious, right? So flash forward, Wade's a TNB fan, so he
Good.
kind of like, this isn't a clone of anything, it's its own thing as well.
Where's the guitar?
But it comes, actually I didn't bring it today. You know, because we're doing the microphone thing so much.
Get loud guys like
yeah,
me.
Yeah. And I'll drop this off too, actually.
You might never get this
Yeah,
bad.
it's 19 watts.
Oh, beautiful.
And the really unique thing, you have switchable bias on the front. So what this is going to do is it's not only going to change sort of, well, first and foremost, it's going to change not only the tone, but how your fingers react to your fretboard, to your strings, and how that guitar reacts with this amp. So it's kind of cool if you're switching from...
Bring it by, I'll do a review on it.
Yeah, from like a Telly to a Les
Yeah.
Paul and matching it with this amp, or if you want to get a tighter sound for more funk, you know, you might come down here a little more. You want to get a little looser and saggy, you're going to go there and play a
As a
little more
guitar
loose.
player, you know, remember the Elvis Costello quote?
Yeah, I run my Nocaster through it all the time. I love it.
Yeah, well, that's nice. I'll borrow that.
Yeah, yeah,
Once
I
you
hope,
know.
yeah.
No, bring this by. Let's
Yep.
do a separate thing on this.
Okay.
We'll review it because
Awesome.
I love guitars and I love being able to. That's why I'm a guitar player who turned into a producer.
There you go. So 19 watts.
Great.
It's got a boost or drive section built into it, but guess what?
Fantastic.
It is a non-master volume amp. So like the old amps, but it's
Sure.
at 19 watts. The boost is boosting the power amp tubes only. It's not boosting preamp. There is no preamp boost.
Well,
So
my
you can
favorite
engage
amp
that
is
or
the
not.
Laney, the original, very first Laney that they made.
Oh,
The one
I
that's
haven't
on the-
experieed those.
They don't look.
I mean, I know Laney, but I never experienced like the very
first
early
ones are
ones.
sort of Marshallish, sort of, but they have partridge transformers in it, which I subsequently came to find out that Rupert Neve was making.
Interesting.
He used to work with partridge.
Yeah, okay,
Transformers, how he
okay.
started. And there's something unique about that. That first Black Sabbath, first couple of albums, that's the Laney.
Something coming with
And they're
yeah.
non-master volume. Same thing.
Yeah,
You just turn it up.
you just turn it up. Angus Young, he's got a, what is it, a 45 down there. They just crank it.
Yeah,
you know,
JTM 35.
Yeah,
Turn it up.
an original with like an SM57 or something on it under the stage, and then the amps up there are
It
just
gets a little
monitors.
fizzy, and this is contentious, and people are not going to agree. But I'm not a JCM 800 fan
Yeah.
because all the distortion was crazy in the preamp
Yeah,
side.
yeah, we don't like that.
I like.
You want non-master volume,
Yeah, turn the
no
whole thing
preamp. So this is boosting the power amp tubes only.
I want to hear it.
Okay, we'll
Very
make
excited.
that happen, and I'll bring my Nocaster.
Yeah, and you won't get it back. All right. Wade, how are you, mate?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm
So
good.
wait there. Goeke.
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 Yeah.
Goeke.
In German, they say Goeke.
Goeke.
Herr Goeke.
Marvelous. So how long have you been doing this? Because I just talked to Steve. I first started using your stuff with Sardi. because he had TG1s, and we were mixing. Actually, the first thing I ever worked with him on was we remixed the Towers of London record at the old Pass when it still existed.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
In the other room.
The Abbey Road relationship was about 12 to 13 years ago.
It was about them.
So that was just when the TG1s came out, our first Abbey Road product, probably.
Probably 2003.
Yeah. 2001 is when I officially made Chandler, I think, 2001. Yep. And then the TG1 was our first, so it would have been about 2003, our first Abbey Road product. So yeah, and then the work actually started a decade before.
Of course.
We didn't actually get the name and all that until anything to call a company until later, but yeah.
Well, it's pretty amazing. So, okay, so why Chandler?
Right, Chandler is my son's name.
Ah, wonderful.
And he was born about the same time as the company was started officially. And my dad kind of, I think, came up with that. And he said, oh, you should use Chandler Limited because it sounds quite English,
quite
actually.
English, does it really, actually?
And since we were kind of doing Abbey Road stuff, which was English, it just seemed to sound right, you know?
My personal name, when I write, my publishing company is Charles Mordaunt, which is my son's name.
Walden,
so I hear
yes, right.
Charles Mordaunt, yes. Very much.
But the trademark company didn't like, we had to fight with them to get a trademark on Chandler Limited because Limited is a limited liability company. So we had to prove it was actually a company name and not a interesting fact.
God bless the laws that we all live under.
Yes.
Well, wonderful. I'm excited about the mic. He's going to bring that by so I can try it.
Awesome.
But as a dude guitar player, even though, you know, I'm producer and engineer as a dude guitar player, the amp is actually the thing I kind of want.
That was fun too.
Yeah.
The funnest thing I ever worked on has been the microphone. It was a long, ongoing. I started on mic 6 years ago officially. I started with the mic and the preamp idea back then with other circuits, and then kind of moved over to doing it as an Abbey Road thing later.
I mean, if it's in a class of a 47 in that class, with the mic pre, $4,500 is really actually a very good price.
Well, that's for you guys to decide.
Okay, it's for us to decide. We will decide.
I can't say that, but it had to go through the Abbey Road process, and they use John and Paul's 47s there every day and 48s. So it's like, so it had to. The first time it was.
I worked with the Fray there, and we asked for the mic.
Yeah.
And they brought it out. It was
so when I sent the first prototypes, that's the first thing they did was put it up against those, which I knew they would do. Yeah. So it had to be pretty far along already. So,
wonderful.
But you guys decide. I love it, but.
Okay, good. I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, man.
I'll get a real singer in, not me. When I do it, I'll do demos and stuff, and I'll write a song on the spot, and then my lyric is like, Abu da dee doo bada boo.
Scrambled eggs, baby, I love your legs.
Yeah, scrambled eggs. Yeah. Any reference? You know what that was from? Eric, do you know? Scrambled eggs. I'm forever making scrambled eggs. Original lyrics to Yesterday when he was trying to figure it out. That's for the geeks like us that know that kind of stuff. All right, well, wonderful to meet you.
No, it's good talking, man.
Good, and Steve's going to bring up a bunch of stuff. We're going to try it out, and you guys will get to see reviews of it. Thank you. All right, I'm here with Doug Fearn. How are you, mate?
I'm doing great, Warren. Good to see you again.
No show would be complete without visiting your booth.
Thank you. I always appreciate it.
So, what do we got here? You tell me you used to make this a few years ago, and you're making it again.
Yeah, we actually brought this out in, I think it was 1994. Right. And we built it for maybe 10 years. And we never really made any money on it because we kept the price down to the point where it seemed like reasonable that people could afford it. But then I decided to bring it out in a rack-mounted version, which was our VT3, which is basically the same unit, and that was reasonably popular, and it was cheaper because the metalwork was not as expensive.
Absolutely, it makes sense.
But this is like the real thing. And when we were getting close to the end of the stock of metalwork for the VT3, I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to the old packaging. And
it looks significant.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's all machined aluminum, so it's very expensive to make.
Oh, wow.
So, but it sounds great.
It's the connoisseurs. What can you tell me about it? Obviously, it's tube.
It's tube DI. It's very simple, but we use the same output transformer we use in all our other products. And the input circuit It's just real basic, right into the grid of the tube, just like a Fender amp. And it's a 1 meg load on it, which seems to be the best compromise for most instruments. And you know, when I first developed this, I said, well, let's give it the ultimate test. Let's plug a Strat into it and see what it sounds like. Because, you know, normally a Strat direct sort of sounds like a banjo.
It's horrible, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're listening to it and we're thinking, holy cow, this isn't coming out of a Fender amp.
Right.
You know, which is amazing.
It's wonderful. So you've got instrument to amp, instrument amp, so it's stereo DI.
Yep, you can use them together if you have a stereo instrument or completely independently. And it's a ground lift, and that's it. Power switch on the back. Simple.
And I'm sure it sounds absolutely amazing.
I love the way it sounds. And the people that, I mean, there's only 100 of these out in the world up till now.
Oh, wow.
So I think, at the show there's been a huge amount of interest in it. So I think we're going to really do something again.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, like, especially larger studios that are going to want to have a Class A, really well-made DI, because you get a high-profile bass player coming into a nice studio. You want to give them a great DI.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and you know, I get feedback from some really high-level bass players. They don't want to use anything else, so that's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for showing us.
Yeah, my pleasure, Warren.
Appreciate it. Marvelous to see you.
Yeah.
It's Warren Huart here at Namm 2017. And I'm with Cliff Mäag. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Warren. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doing this.
Now, Cliff has a new compressor out, and he's going to tell us all about it.
What we have is the Magnum K, is what we call it. And the reason I call it that, and I'm just for your information, years ago, and it was close to 30 years ago, I did a simple compressor on an old console I had that could just take care of the 2.5K band for me when I was cutting vocals. And I would run my mic to that EQ, and then I would control 2.5K. And I called it the Magnum K that time ago. So that's why we have the name that we have. That is the only reason. And,
right.
And so it was controlling the 2.5K band pass.
Right.
So that's what I used then. And now I finally got something that I actually feel like I can show to you. What's that?
Was it an AKG 414 that you were
414, yeah. Yeah.
So I guess the 414 would have a little bit too much 2.5.
So I was trying to get the vocal to stay in control.
Yeah.
And then I got my C12, and that took care of a lot of the problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you tell us engineers that we know what mic it is from the EQ problem.
Yep. And so that helped to take care of that problem.
Right.
That's where the name come from.
Yeah.
So you can edit all that or do what you want, but that
I love this
that's a
stuff.
story. So what we have is the compression section, the inputs, attenuator, and input gain.
Sure.
So if I were cutting a vocal, which, you know, if I were cutting through it, a lot of times I'll back my mic pre down just a bit so I'm not getting close to clipping the mic pre on a vocal.
Okay.
And then I'll take and gain the difference that I want up to drive the compressor.
Okay.
Then I can set it at 4 dB, and I'm not going to go over 4 dB when I'm compressing. So now that light is telling me, that meter's telling me I'm compressing 4 dB. So that way I know I'm never going over that. I'm never going to make that vocal feel crazy with compression or pumping.
Interesting tool. I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right.
Great
And
idea.
so right now I'm going to keep it on. I've got it on this mix that's at 8 dB,
Yeah.
and you can see this is the meter that's telling me what it's doing. This is the Magnum K section, the K section I talked about earlier. When I engage it, you can see it now is grabbing 2.5K and it's compressing it, and I can tell it, you know, the amount that I want it to just grab that, to just, when it gets hard and hits that edge, that, you know, on the 414, it's going to pull that edge down just really faster than I could turn a knob.
Great.
So that's one thing that it does. Now the next thing after that, we've got everything compressed and sounding where we want it. Then we go into the parallel EQ. So now the parallel EQ is an EQ2, and we enhance the bottom end. We can kick in the bottom end, and this becomes like a blend switch between the compressed signal and the EQ'd original signal EQ'd a little bit to change the gain. So now I can gain the amount of that, just like a blend switch. And then also we have the air band. So if I pulled a little bit that I got at 2.5K out, now I can open up some of the air and the open end of the vocal back in with the air band. And so it goes out to 40K. Then on the very end, what I've got, so now I've got the makeup gain here. This is the output section.
Yep.
So I make up the gain. Now I'm where I could go if I compressed. Now I can kick in the limiter, and when the limiter kicks in, this becomes the meter for the limiter, and when I push it, you'll see it kind of go to a pink color.
Sure.
Now I'm limiting the sum of all of that was ahead of it.
Great.
And making up the gain. And I've gained another 5 dB probably, or 6 right now with what I'm showing you right now.
That's amazing.
And then in and out.
Yep.
And so that.
And you can stereo link it, I see.
Yep, and you can link, and what it's going to link are these 4 knobs right here between these 2 units, because it's all analog. It's just a ton of stuff to link, but it links these 4 knobs in the compression section. And I think that's gives you
I
a
would
pretty
say
close.
with that 2.5 there, there's some actually like crazy heavy guitars. This would be
Oh,
good. Be good on a guitar bus.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. And horns.
Horns,
You guys ever cut? Boy, when they go to hit you,
Yeah.
it's your best friend. I'm telling you, and they're gonna love how it sounds when you did it.
Great.
They are gonna love how it feels in the headphones. They are gonna love it.
Wonderful.
You know, because they can go after it and not feel like they're hurting themselves when they start to blow, because they're gonna, in the room they've got enough of that. And so that. Now
fantastic.
let me show you one more thing we can do. We'll take all of this out. Let's get rid of everything. Now, if I want, I'll turn this off, all of the compression. Now I can use just the Magnum K, and I can just compress 2.5 and not do any compressing on anything else.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so now that's gone. I want the EQ. Now I can use it as an EQ too, and I can boost the low end or use it as an EQ too on the high end and gain that. And then I can limit it if I wanted to limit what that was doing with just this and with the Magnum.
Can I run the limit on its own?
Yeah. Well, yeah, just go like this.
Great.
So now you're going to have to push it. Now watch, I'm going to push it, and now you'll see the limit.
That's great.
Start to grab now.
That's fantastic.
And now now take the Magnum out. Now nothing's happening but the limiting.
That's wonderful. There you go.
So
Very versatile.
So you know what it would take to do this?
What's that?
28 patch cables,
Right.
4 compressors,
Yeah.
2 EQs,
Yeah.
and 2 limiters.
Yeah.
And then you have to go into your DAW or to your console to grab 3 summing buses.
Right.
So now and then make sure you're actually summing it and doing it in parallel, not in series, so you're getting the effect of what we're doing in this unit.
That's amazing.
So,
well, fantastic stuff. You're always coming up with wonderful products.
thanks, Warren.
Thank you very much,
I
Cliff.
appreciate you. Thanks so much for coming over and letting me be a part of this.
Thank you.
And thanks to you guys.
Yeah. Awesome. First. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Please leave a bunch of questions and comments below. If you've got anything specific, I'll ask Cliff and he can answer them.
I will. Thank you, guys.
Hello everybody, Namm 2017, if you hadn't already guessed, because it's in a video called Namm 2017. Amazing how that works. I am here at Radar, or it's isn't it? Is Technology.
Is Technology.
But I'm always just call it Radar, you have to excuse me. So, Robert, what have you got going on here? I saw Barry brought this over to my studio, I don't know, 6 months ago maybe, and it was like an earlier iteration.
Sure.
But you've since started working with them, and what has happened? What has improved? I hear good things.
Well, we've built a multi-touch control surface environment, and we're displaying it here with Pro Tools, but it works with many other DAWs as well. We're developing it to work with many other DAWs. It works with the DAW that we're releasing called Session as well. So if we look here, this is standard Pro Tools that we're all used to. I've even hidden the transport control because I might open our little transport window, and you can see it works right from there. We got stop, we got return to 0, we got fast forward, we got play, and we got record. But we can expand that out, and it opens up a whole bunch of common functions you'd be used to. We can toggle pre-roll and post-roll, quick punch, loop play, change our zoom, drop a marker, common things like that. So maybe I can tuck that away. And all of these are floating panels. They're not overlays, they're not added buttons there, floating panels. And if I put it up there, I can double tap and you see it gives a little bit of a border. So this is locked in place and that won't move by accident. We got other stuff like a jog wheel that's a throwback to our session controller.
Right.
We got a keyboard, so you don't even need to bring the keyboard if you want to go do a remote thing. You can do it here. You see the play button plays. It does what you'd expect with a keyboard.
Hold on a second, go back to that. Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
check it out.
This is where all the money is, of course. This is it's a 24 fader bank. We got banking and nudging, of course, too. But this is a multi-touch environment for Pro Tools control. So
we've got an Osberger demo going on, and when I arrived 5 minutes ago, Stevie Wonder was over there. Yes, Stevie Wonder. So a lot going on here, so you have to excuse the noise in the background.
So if I flip over just to the mixing window for the sake of demonstration, and just maybe change our transparency so you can see underneath it.
It's a good idea.
Then maybe just move that up. You see, I'll grab, say, our lead vocal track, and I move that around. You can see it moving in the background.
Well, it's much better than it was. Much better. What did you do to improve that?
Magic, our software developers, those are all over it.
Much better, because that's one of the biggest things about that.
It's nice and smooth. It's got a fine control. If you go slow, you can do 0.1 to 0.1 dB movements pretty easily.
That's good.
And the thing about this overlay, not overlay, it's a control panel, right? You can move it around just like the other ones. You can lock it. Is that it's 10-point multi-touch. I grab my lead vocal, I move my finger over, I still have control over it. I can grab my bass and pull it down. I realize I want more overheads, I got that. I grab 4 things at once, I want to pull it down. This is 10-point multi-touch.
That's really good.
We got soloing, muting. I can go all record. I can go none, mute, none, solo. That takes it away. And of course this syncs completely with the session controller as well.
Right.
Lastly, the other piece of our control software that we're putting out is called Remote. So if you got a smartphone,
I do.
so if you go to your Wi-Fi settings,
Yep.
I got it loaded up on mine. I'll go to Pro Tools. You see how quickly it loads on our system. And I'll go back to my project. Now you can see the scribble strip reads out our time. I hit play and we're playing.
That's great.
I hit stop and we're stopping. I go to tracks because I want to go out into the vocal booth.
Yeah.
I want to coach the vocalist on something. I want to be there with them. I hit record enable on the vocal. I go back. I hit record. And down here we're rolling on the vocal.
That's really cool.
So you can walk out of the studio, be drummer. You want to punch yourself in.
Great.
Everybody in the studio can have one of these, so you can fight over control if you want. Or we just want to add added flexibility, getting out there to groove with the musicians and work with them in a more personal and direct manner.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for showing us.
Thank you.
Pretty awesome. And it's out now, or is it about to be released?
First quarter of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anytime now, basically.
Yeah, in the next couple months.
In the next couple months.
Yeah.
Marvelous. Great stuff. And as everybody knows, we love Radar. Sounds amazing. I'm glad you guys are getting to this technology, and I'll let you know that fader movement is the best I've felt.
What's great, this works on any touchscreen as well.
That's really. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. You don't have to go out and buy a massively expensive touchscreen to do it.
No,
Right.
any off-the-shelf touchscreen.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Hope you enjoyed that. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing, and there's going to be links below the video taking you to Radar's site, IZ's site, so you can find out a bit more information about it.